London, 1854. The city was alive, teeming with millions, its empire stretching across oceans, its markets buzzing with power, its streets choked with horse-drawn carts and shouting vendors. But beneath the noise of progress lay a silence filled with dread, because death was in the water. At first, no one understood it. Cholera struck like lightning, swift, merciless, and invisible. One day, a man might rise with the dawn, ready to face another grinding day at the docks, in the markets, or in Parliament itself. By nightfall, he could be cold and lifeless, his body twisted by cramps so violent that even seasoned doctors recoiled. The disease moved with terrifying speed. Within hours, skin turned gray, lips blue, eyes sunken into hollow sockets. Victims vomited endlessly, their bodies racked with spasms. And then came the diarrhea, relentless, unstoppable. A torrent so extreme that survivors described it as rice water stools, liquid pouring out until nothing remained but skin and bone. Families watched loved ones vanish in a single day. Neighbors whispered in fear. Churches filled with funeral bells, their solemn chimes echoing across the fog-choked streets. And still, no one could explain why. The prevailing wisdom, the doctrine repeated endlessly by doctors, priests, and politicians alike, was miasma theory. Miasma, bad air, poisonous vapors rising from rot and filth. The theory had history on its side. Plagues of the past, it was said, spread on the wings of foul smells, carried into homes by putrid breezes. The worse the stench, the higher the risk of death. And in London, the world's greatest metropolis, the stench was everywhere. Rotting food, open cesspits, animal carcasses, overflowing drains, human waste flowing freely into the River Thames, which ran thick and black through the city's heart. If disease was born of filth, London was a cradle of pestilence. So when cholera struck, doctors marched into the slums with handkerchiefs pressed tightly over their mouths. Believing vinegar-soaked cloths might protect them, families barricaded windows, sealing homes against the outside stench. Parliament itself debated how to cleanse the city's air. But all of this was a lie. It wasn't the air that carried cholera. It was the water, the very lifeblood of London. But who could dare to challenge such certainty in the mid-1800s? Medicine was as much superstition as science. Doctors argued endlessly, their tools crude, their knowledge shallow. The idea that an invisible organism, something so small it could slip through unseen, might travel through water and kill millions, absurd, laughable, impossible. And yet, one man was watching, a physician, a skeptic, a man named John Snow. John Snow was no ordinary doctor. He was quiet, meticulous, almost obsessive. In a time when most physicians relied on tradition and guesswork, Snow believed in observation, in evidence, in patterns hidden beneath chaos. When cholera struck London again in 1854, he did not close his windows. He did not fear the stench. Instead, he went into the streets, into the heart of the epidemic, armed with nothing but a notebook, a pencil, and the determination to find the truth. He spoke with grieving families. He walked among the dead. He marked each case on a map, drawing dots for every life lost. Slowly, carefully, he built a picture, a grim constellation of suffering. And as the dots spread, a horrifying image emerged. They weren't random. They weren't scattered evenly through the city. They clustered around one place, a water pump on Broad Street. The Broad Street pump was famous. Its water was cool, clear, and sweet, considered the purest in the neighborhood. Families walked blocks out of their way to fill their buckets from its spout. Mothers gave it to their children. Workers drank from it daily. But Snow saw something no one else dared. The pump was not life, it was death. Every dot on his map, every household torn apart by cholera, circled closer and closer to Broad Street. Those who drank from other pumps were spared. Those who avoided the water survived. One woman, living miles away, had died suddenly. Her only connection to the neighborhood, she preferred the taste of Broad Street water. Her son carried it to her daily, and it killed her. This was no coincidence. This was proof. Snow realized what few could accept. Cholera was waterborne. Invisible killers swam in the very liquid that sustained life, and London was drinking its own death. But the fight was not over. Snow had the evidence, the maps, the interviews, the statistics. But he faced an empire of resistance. Doctors clung to miasma theory with religious zeal. Politicians sneered at his claims. Even the public, terrified and desperate, refused to believe that their own beloved water could be poisoned. Still, Snow pressed on. He went before the local board of guardians. The men responsible for the pump hand pleaded. He showed them his maps. He told them of the clustering deaths. He begged them to act. At last, reluctantly, they agreed. The handle of the Broad Street pump was removed, and the deaths began to fall. It was not an instant victory. Not everyone was convinced. Many clung to the old belief that foul air, not foul water, carried disease. Snow's theory remained controversial, dismissed by most of the medical establishment. But history would vindicate him, because the truth could not be buried forever. Cholera was not born of stench. It was born of sewage. London, with its overflowing cesspools and raw waste pouring into the Thames, had poisoned itself. Every bucket of water drawn from a pump near the river was laced with death. Every sip carried the risk of agony, collapse, and a grave. The Great Stink of 1858 would finally force Parliament to acknowledge this truth, to build vast sewers that would reshape the city. But John Snow had seen it first. He had mapped death itself. He had revealed the enemy no one could see. And for the first time in history, the shadow of cholera began to lift. Yet the question lingered in every Londoner's heart. How many had to die before the truth was believed? How many children buried? How many mothers lost? How many fathers gone? Before the city accepted that its lifeblood was also its poison. Death had swum in the Thames. It had flowed from pumps, carried in buckets, poured into cups. It had stalked the streets, silent and invisible. And though one man had uncovered its secret, the battle was far from over, because London still stank, and the river still rotted. The real war to cleanse the city itself was yet to come.